What I'm talking to you about today is something called Multi-Story Water, which was a project funded by AHRC, the Arts and Humanities Research Council. And it was using street participation and the arts to address flood risk. Okay, so the aim was to find, it was really for the Environment Agency, but the Environment Agency didn't pay a penny for it, which is fantastic if you can do that, to find a low-cost and replicable way to get from awareness, because sometimes people are aware that there's a flood, to belief that it's actually going to happen, and then to doing something about it, whether that be resilience or actually doing something to their houses. So it was based in two places, Shipley in Leeds and Eastville in Bristol, and the Bristol example is what I'm going to talk to you about. And why was it there? Because some people were at risk of flood and nobody had actually talked to them about that. So it was a completely new area who had no idea that they were at risk of flood. And it was, as I said, funded by AHRC. This is the area, and this is a map that the Environment Agency did for us, showing that some of these houses would go underwater if there was going to be a flood. This was a map, again, that had not been shared with people, so it was going to be a surprise. The Froome is a beautiful place. You can see IKEA here, and those of you that know Bristol will very much notice all of this. This is actually, the Environment Agency sluice gates here, which nobody really looks at very much, but they're just by IKEA. Very exciting, actually, because Marvin Wood, who works at the Environment, is so excited about the concrete. These concrete pillars, incredible what they do and how they do it. And the level of excitement from the Environment Agency and all the scientists involved was unbelievable. And that's just infectious, and people loved it. Right, so this is to say that Eastville has flooded. In 1968 it did, but very few people were around. And unfortunately, the first thing that I found out when I went to do interviews was that the street that I was talking to, the streets, there were 4 streets mainly that we were talking to, hadn't flooded, and they absolutely knew that in 1968 they hadn't flooded, and therefore we're even safer than that. You know, we're so safe, because in 1968 there was this massive flood, really famous, and they didn't flood. Right, so the first thing that we did was we had interviews. So this is really bottom up. It's absolutely hello, knocking on doors saying, how do you want to, improve your area? What do you know about the water in the area? What do you know about rivers? We're going to be doing a project, possibly a festival, that kind of thing. We just want to know what kind of thing is important to you. And it was really open. We had a workshop for sort of key people in the community, so people who do neighbourhood watch, etc. And then whatever came out of that, and we didn't know what that was going to be acted on. So they were saying things like they liked dance, they liked participating in things, people were in choirs, street parties came up, and various things. And so he said, right, let's go with what it is that they want to do, and with this theme of water. So street parties, and then the final thing was arts, the preparation for the arts performance, which was to do with preparing the site, and also the final performance. Behind the scenes, things that they didn't know was that there was an advisory group set up of loads of people from universities and so on, with it being an academic bid, that sort of thing had to happen. There was local contact, so Marvin from the Environment Agency, lots of people from the council, etc. Again, people don't need to know that. That's not what they saw. They saw the front. They didn't need to know all that stuff. And then there was the team. When I went around interviewing, people gave us lots of things. So this, for those that know Bristol, is Bridge Farm is just behind there. And there's a little boy with a horse, and that is actually Jack, who lives at Bridge Farm when he was young. And he's 98 now, and he still lives there. It's a Grade 2 listed building, and this is the bottom of Bells Hill. Okay. So I gathered loads of information. People really connected with where they were, their space, and where their house is was really important to them. And they gave me loads of information, loads of old photographs. That was a street party from 1977. Here is one. It's the coronation. You can see everybody's got little hats on. So people loved sharing what they had. And, people they would see me and they would come out and give me things. Look, you want this, you want the other. And, of course, they wanted all that sharing back with each other. One thing that came up hugely was the building of the M32 and how that had divided the community. well, you can see anybody who's come in on that road, you can see there's people on one side, there's people on another. And actually, it's very difficult to get underneath that space. It's very grey and has been since 1971. And it came up as a big issue. So although this is supposed to be about flooding, we're talking about lots and lots of different things. But people gave us all of this stuff. We had a street party, normal street party, getting people together. So that was about resilience and so on. And that really worked. People just came up with ideas. So open gardens, that was just an idea that somebody had. And I turned up, I didn't have a clue what, they were going to do it. And there we go, all these open gardens, so that people on the other side of the street could see the river that was at the back of the other people's streets. People getting there, so again, street party, you think you know what's going to happen? No, you don't. And people went out and they got dressed up. So, girls were coming back in their princess costumes and bringing all their toys out to share and play with. And there were group activities as well. Pond dipping, lots of food. Food's fantastic. A real sharing. And now this is where the information came in. I'd given bits of information, and the map was available, and at every event there were things available, but it was just there. And what happened was that when people came up and asked for it, then it went in and it had a difference. It made a difference to them. If we'd pushed this stuff, if we'd said, hello, we're from the Environment Agency, we'd like to tell you that you're at risk of flood, it wouldn't have gone in and they'd have gone, no, I'm not. You must be wrong. 1968, let me tell you a story. But of course, because it was just offered, and we were just nice people, and we were there, they really wanted it. They took it on. Planning. There was lots of planning involved. Again, backstory stuff. Lots of storytelling. So they had told stories, we told stories back. We made all those stories together, and this is what happened. Science, some really hard science. There was concrete. There was how you deal with the sluices, and this is eels. This is an expert in eels, and that was really exciting. Eels going uphill. Play and performance. So the last weekend, we needed to end it off, and that was a performance, and that was a festival, and people really enjoyed themselves. And it's local groups, and everything was done by the local people. And there we go. The street shows the focus, and they provided all of the material, so it was completely theirs. That we facilitated, but very much in the background. And there was as much or as little participation as you wanted. So if you were very old, you would actually get information and things coming to you, and you could come out, and things were really close. They were in the pub. They were 2 houses away. We considered all styles, learning ages, learning styles, etc. And also, we like to mix people up and have encounters. And it produced a tangible legacy, which is now going to be carried on by the local council. So you may not have seen this, but under the M32, normally it's grey, and there are now a couple of pillars that have been painted by the community. So the 3-year-olds did these little ones here, and then as the ages got higher, then they were able to reach higher. And so it's a combination of local people having painted that to their desire, to whatever it was that they wanted. They chose the kingfisher. And then professionals coming in, finishing that off, and doing all that together. So, yes, that's about behaviour change and how when people ask for it, they're going to act on it if you give it or give them data they're possibly likely not to.